probably the most fun of the afternoon. This session, we're going to talk about the highlights of our careers. We're going to talk about one of the most fulfilling aspects of being a musician in the military is when we have the opportunity to showcase our talents internationally. And when we are part of a tasking that commemorates some of the most important events in the settlers' history of our country. So in this session, we're going to hear the experiences of our panelists as they tell us about these opportunities that they've had to represent Canada on the world stage. So my friends, Natalie and Marie-Pierre and Madeline and Allison, please tell us your stories, your most fantastic stories about your career so far. Okay, who wants to start?
I'll say something.
You go ahead.
I think like these commemorative ceremonies and stuff that we do overseas, and I think it's really like I'd say it's the best part of my job, if not one of the best parts of my job. It is definitely the best part. There's something about, I mean, playing for an audience is great, but playing for an audience of ancestors and the deceased and people who've died serving our country is like, it's really emotional. Like, I'm kind of getting emotional just talking about it. But like, I don't know how to describe what it feels like to play in cemeteries or like at these monuments and on like the anniversaries of such big occasions, like the 100th anniversary of the armistice, and have like, for us, Remembrance Day was always like a sad day where we, honor our deceased and our veterans. But to be there in Belgium and to play on Remembrance Day, it's a celebration. Like it was the day that we liberated their country, and to see that and to feel that, like, yeah, I don't know, it like really moves me.
Yes, thank you, Allison. That's how powerful these events are. And it's such a great opportunity for us, like a blessing, really. Anybody else wants to say something about it?
Well,
yeah.
I was in Belgium as well for these, sometimes for these commemorations, and even just walking in the streets, when you have something that identifies yourself as a Canadian, they come to you and they thank you. They're so grateful that we were there for their nation in those times. And even though we weren't the ones, right? But we have this honor of representing these people that sacrifice their lives. And so I can totally understand, Allison, how you can, it is moving because it's moving for them too, that we are there, that we're back. We're the ones that liberated them, and we're back to say thank you for having us. Thank you for what you did, and to commemorate our people over there. And I totally feel that, definitely. I've been playing the last post once in Grosbeek Cemetery, which on that day, it was like the last day of, maybe you can talk about the march in Nye Megan after that, because it was like the last day of the Nye Megan March. And I was there with the brass quintet, so very small ensemble. And I was the one that was designated to play the last post there. And so I was standing in front of our troops in a Canadian cemetery, like so far from here, so far from where these people came from, right? And that's where they're buried. That's where they made the sacrifice. And then I was there playing the last post, like having all those thoughts. And it kills my nerves. When I do that, nerves are not existent anymore, because I'm like, this is not about me. This is whatever's going to come out, that bell is for them. And then I had all of these guys that had been walking for days. And then they got to that cemetery, and their goal that day was to get to the cemetery on time for the ceremony. Because then if not, the ceremony was over. So that, like, when they heard that last post, like, I mean, it was all this symbolic and like that was surrounding that last post, which was like the goal for these people to be, I'm done. I have recreated the challenge that these people had to go through, which is like a tiny portion of what these people went through. But even it is a challenge anyway. So I was playing that last post, and that for me is one of the strongest memories of my whole career, playing that specific last post. Like all the last posts are special. They're all special. But that one was moving because I was in front of people that that went beyond their own limits in order to achieve that goal. And it was, so powerful, definitely.
100%. I agree with all of that. I think maybe part of it too was my first overseas tasking was with Nye Megan. And once they found out that I was a horn player who had experience in the trumpet, because that's what I played in high school, suddenly next thing you know, I'm the bugler. And the first time I ever played last post was at Vimy Ridge. And so when they asked me, I was just like, oh my God, can I do this? But I talked to the trumpet players in my band and they were all super supportive. They were like, yes, you can do this. And I just thought, I reminded myself, if they're asking me to do this, it's because I'm the most qualified person that they have, right? So like, no one's going to be judging me like, oh, she played it wrong or whatever, right? So like, I went for it and I thought I was going to be nervous, but just everything you were describing, like I got to that moment and it was like, it wasn't even me. It was like, this is just what's going to happen, and I felt really connected, like to stand up there and like be staring at the landscape, like way above the parade while you're playing. And I don't know, I guess it just kind of like ripped off the band-aid of like emotional ceremonies for me. And I felt really, really connected and it went from there. And it's my favorite part of the job now. I think Natalie wanted to say something, please.
Just something with that actually, where I was saying in our previous panel discussion, where I supervise our public affairs department. So a lot of that is looking through pictures and imagery and like writing up on certain events or, so we have in the military, it's like combat cam. So it's the actual photographers who are at these events, they're overseas, they're for events, at home too, but they're on the ships, they're like on the ground with everyone for these events. And looking through these images for different projects we've worked on, I just have to say that Allison playing that last post has come up in a lot of different combat cams or different Canadian Armed Forces, just Canadian Army. And for that month, it's Allison playing the last post at Vimy Ridge. I've seen on more than one occasion. It's really neat. And it just shows, it's like, we're musicians in the forces. We're not out on the front lines, but it's still a big part of the military. The music means a lot. It's like the history, it's the culture, and, it ties all of that in together. So it's just really interesting and really special, right?
It really made my day when you sent me those photos.
It's like, I know her.
Yeah, but that was incredible, right? Like to be the contingent bugler. And then I played last post at all of the ceremonies, right? So I also did grosbeak. And like those are all such strong memories in my mind, right? And like I woke up the troops every morning and I think I played like a salute as we passed, like I forget who it was, whenever we had to do an eyes right, because there was someone really important that the Nye Megan team was marching by. Like I played some salutes and like by the end, the highest ranking person on the VIP team, I forget exactly what her position was, but she was just like, I can't believe how great it was to have a real bugler as part of the contingent. And I was like, actually, ma'am, I'm a French horn player. I'm not even a bugler. And that just blew her mind. She was like, oh my God, that's even better, right? So like, that was actually why I got to go back and do it again. Which was, is the same thing. Like it was an incredible opportunity and experience. It was just a lot harder on my body. Like I powered through the marches the first year and I just lost a toenail. And the second year there was a lot more pain. But I realized that I haven't really explained what the marches were. And so for anybody watching this, the Nye Megan Marches are known as the 4-day marches that happen in Nye Megan, or departing and arriving back in Nye Megan in the Netherlands. And they've been doing these marches for over 100 years. It started as a Dutch training exercise, and then I think Canada's involvement maybe began after World War II, but it began like militaries from around the world started taking part in this, and every year they have, I think, 50,000 marchers, civilians, and 10,000 military from around the world. And it was just really awesome to represent the Canadian Armed Forces and go there and do that. A really good glimpse outside of the music branch too. But I think Mary Pierre was talking about it, like when you're over there and you have people off the street see the Canadian flag on your shoulder and come up to you, and they say things like, if it wasn't for you, I would be speaking German right now. Like, you know, and it's really emotional. It's really hard to, sorry, it's my cat, he's chatting. But I don't know, it's an incredible experience, and I recommend it to anybody.
Thank you, Allison. And Madeline, what's your highlight?
Yeah, when we went, the last deployment I did was in Italy, and we had the occasion to go to Casa Berardi in Ortona, and we had few evenings, and we had a meet and greet with the veterans, and we had the occasion to chat with the veterans. We sat at the table, shared a meal, and it was really the moment that moved me, because the son of one of the veterans, Joseph Amab Dubé, was there, and he was chatting about he never felt like his father talked about the war and stuff. And we were sitting there, and he was talking to us about what was going on at Casa Berardi, that when all of this was happening, where they were hiding and stuff like that. And his son just next to him never heard those stories. So that moment was really moving to me, because it was opening up to us. Even if I was a musician, they were all aware that we were a musician with other traits as well. But the veterans talking to us just because we were Army, just there opening up, because it's still an issue in all these wars and stuff that people don't open up. Just that moment, that old man talking like he was there, and just showing us when we were on parade that day at Casa Berardi, he showed us the places, and yeah, we came from there and we went there, and the German was there. They were all talking, opening up. This moment was really moving to me. And the other thing is, when I started in the Army in 2009, they were still deaths in Afghanistan and stuff. And every morning that had happened, we had a last post and the pipes were playing. And I felt it really moving, but not as much as when you're there and you see all the surrounding, all the fields, all the graves and everything. And a last post is playing, the pipes are playing. It's so moving, because you actually can't imagine where it was, what happened and stuff. And it's so peaceful. It's like the opposite of, in your mind, it's like they went to war and they suffered so much, and now it's so peaceful. Yeah, that was really moving. Just to be there and in completely different place to listen to last post, it doesn't feel the same at all for the same piece.
Yeah.
I had an interview regarding last post, last week, the 10th of November, the evening of the La Journée du Souvenir. And we talked about that. I was asked, what do you think music means during a ceremony like that? And I didn't. My son came up with a comparison. And I know I talked to people about it, so some people heard it, but he told me, Mom, he told me about the poppy, what the poppy means, right? The morning of the 11th. And so this is going to make sense. And so he told me, Mom, the poppy means thank you without using your words. That's why we wear a poppy. And then I was like, well, you know what? music is the exact same on the ceremony, on a Remembrance Day ceremony or any ceremonies. Like the last pose is something that you hear, and it puts you in that kind of state of reflection. Of it's a sound that we are used to hear when we pause, right? You hear the last pose, and you have the minute or 2 minutes of silence. So it's such an association that we make, that music, and any music during a ceremony, is a way of saying so many things without saying them, because music goes beyond, right? It goes beyond words. It goes, and it creates this connection, and we need that connection so much nowadays, but like especially during those ceremonies, to bring someone further into their into their thoughts, and like we need to have the music is so strong to get this happening, right? To have this connection between events, between memories and stuff like that. I think music has such an important role to play for all those ceremonies.
That's true. Thank you for answering my next question. I was thinking about these events can change a person, and I was going to ask you if these events, these special events, changed your perspective of what it is to be a musician. Yes, Natalie.
Yeah, I would just say, like, of the few deployments that I've been lucky to do, one of them was the 70th anniversary of D-Day. So we were actually at Juno Beach for the anniversary, and there's so many places that just, they're so humbling. Like before the ceremony, we kind of were on the grounds for a while, and just going onto the beach and like seeing how big that beach is, like seeing how far it is from the water, where all these people were coming up, and I think it's like 359 Canadians were lost just then, like that day. That's crazy. And like, we're so lucky, to be where we are now. And it's like, sometimes you kind of lose perspective, but then when you go, like you're actually in the place and you can touch the sand. People were scooping up little bottles of sand to take home, because it's like you're there, and that's where the people were. And and you like see the veterans. And sometimes when we're playing for events, maybe it's snowing and our valves stop working, or your fingers won't move, or your mouthpiece is really cold. It's like, oh, my toes are so cold. But then you think, like, this is way bigger than me. And then you think, and you see the veterans sitting there, and they're cold. And obviously they don't care, because like they were there at that time. And yeah, events like that, it's just really humbling, and it just really makes you realize, like, we're really lucky. I mean, just as Canadians, but it's also like we're really lucky as Canadian Forces musicians to get to go to these places, and to get to relate to these people in this way, and to hear their stories, and to be there. And and as cheesy as it sounds, like representing the country and all that stuff, but really, like, it's it's just really special. Like you can't describe it really, but that, yeah, I don't know. That's just a thought, I guess.
Oh, we're exploring a territory that we don't necessarily have the vocabulary to express.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's
the awesomeness.
Yeah. And I would also say too, I mean, there's that side of the deployment where we are doing like those commemorative ceremonies, and it's just like, that's like amazing. And there's so much history and everything in that. And then also there are deployments I can say personally I've done where like we got to go to Scotland when I was in the Navy, Sadacona band with the Navy. We went to Scotland and to play a tattoo at a Fort George outside of Inverness. And I mean, there are like battle reenactments, and there's the whole history part of that, but also like we're there just to kind of show off and represent the forces in that way. And so we get to do stuff like that too. And meet people from all different countries there, and just, yeah, like explore the country and see, play for different people all over, and represent the forces in that way, and go play in little towns and do little concerts. And, we work with, some military people, but also we're really interacting with the public now that are there that might not, otherwise see a Canadian Forces uniform. And yeah, I think that's a really neat part of our job too. It's, all the different types of deployments. Just yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Natalie. And Allison, I suppose you want to talk to us about.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, because of what Natalie was talking about. Sorry, my cat's really chatty right now. But our band, the Naden band, had the opportunity to go to Chile for the 200th anniversary of the Chilean Navy, which was awesome. I think what happened was they invited the Navy. They wanted one of our ships to go down there, and the Navy said, no, it's too expensive, or the ship would be gone too long, or no, like it's not possible for us to send a ship, but how about we send a band instead? So our band got to go to Chile just to represent our country. And that was one of the best taskings I've been on. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was just like what Natalie was saying, like showing off, like, hey, here we are. This is what we do, and yeah, that's a huge perk of the job for sure.
Thank you, Allison. Yes, I was there, so it's great. I saw that Marie-Pierre had something also she wanted to share.
Well, yeah, so many nice trips that we got to do. Unfortunately, because I was on mat leave twice, I missed some great opportunities. Like the RCF band, they also went to Korea, and they went to we go to the United States quite often because it's closer, but we also and I was part of that trip. We made our way to Trinidad and Tobago, and that was amazing because we got to play for a soccer stadium with Jetstream. So we played for I think it was something like 27,000 people every single night for the opening of every games. So we were set up at the center of this huge field, and we would play all those songs, and just the sound of having so many people watching, right, was amazing. And then we got to play in a smaller ensemble over there for the Canadian Embassy. So we played for a function over there, and then you get to meet people from all over the world, right? Musicians from all over the world. You don't even speak the same language, but you kind of, because you're playing music together, which is pretty awesome.
Yes. Actually, I'm told that the reason why the Navy could not send ships to Chile was because they were all busy on other operations. So that's interesting, because I love being a ship replacer. It was pretty cool.
So did I.
And they're still thinking about using us again in that way. Did I see Madeline shine up with an idea? No? Okay, but I'm seeing Natalie with a hand.
Our names do sound alike. Every time you say it, I'm like, well. Yeah, there's just another kind of way we're deployed that I've been lucky to do is when we go to support other countries' celebrations. So not my band, the Central Band, has gone to Latvia in support of Operation Reassurance 2 times. The first time I was on maternity leave, so I missed out on that. But for that event, they went for it's a huge Latvian festival. It's the Song and Dance Festival. And for this, in the band, for example, I think there were 70 French horns. And the choir was 100,000 people. You have to look it up to see pictures. The song I did, band promotional stuff after the fact, and I was sharing these photos that I didn't get to be there for. I'm like, oh, come on. But but that's events like that, it's for another country that we're supporting. That's a neat thing too. So we did, I believe that was 2018. And then the following year we were back again. I mean, my first time there, not back, but it was for the celebrations of the 100th anniversary of the Latvian army. So it's neat for us to go and, we're helping them celebrate the, centennial of their army. So there are huge events all over the country. We stayed right in Riga. And so there was one of the big shows we did, like in Latvia, it's like music is just so important. Like it's a huge, huge thing. So like the Song and Dance Festival. So when we did a concert that was, the downtown Riga concert celebrating the army, we played for probably a half an hour, but actually the concert went all day. It was nonstop, like back to back to back to back to back to back acts, like Latvian acts, Latvian military bands. We worked very closely with the Latvian regular force band more so the first year, and the reserves band the second year. So we did that huge concert, but then again, we went to little small villages and did, a little concert in a church or little outdoor concerts. And we collaborated with the Latvian musicians essentially the whole time that we're there. And so it's neat to get to do that because, I mean, like you were saying, everyone's music is the, international language. There's different, tons of different types of music, but when you get together, it's just nice to be able to collaborate in that way and like bring countries together that way. And we're still friends with lots of the Latvians from that trip. They've come here and done concerts here. And actually, our piano player in the central band, just by chance, is Latvian. So that's really handy, So as a translator for program notes and concert notes, but also to feature her as a Canadian Forces member in the country where she's from, it's just really neat to build these relationships and just kind of, it shows off a little the diversity of our country, but it's just I think I hear a child breaking into my office here, but yeah, just deployments like that. And actually, while we were in Latvia, we were there in July. So, here's my daughter. It's Willow. Willow, say hi. Hi. So we were there in July for Canada Day. So we did a Canada Day event with the Canadian ambassador to Latvia. So that was, with all the Canadian troops that were there, we got to celebrate with them. And then the following day, I believe, our brass quintet got to drive to Estonia because the Canadian ambassador to Latvia and Estonia is the same person. So he hosted another event. In Estonia. So we got to go there and play for another country. And it's just, celebrating our country there and celebrating our relations. And anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm a little distracted.
It's okay. Thank you, Natalie.
It's really special, and it's a lot of fun and has a lot of meaning. So, Willow.
Yes, for sure. So I saw your hand, Marie-Pierre. I just want to see. I don't know if I have enough time. So I have here that our last video will be 10 minutes, but I have another note here that says it's 5 minutes, so I'm not sure. Also, we have some some closing remarks and an invitation to a concert. So we have time. We need to have the time. I'm told we do. So yes, go ahead, Marie-Pierre.
I just wanted to follow up on those relationships that we build with like certain musicians, even like, of course, the countries are kind of playing together and it's pretty cool that we're establishing that relationship, but also we have like long lasting friendships that are created through those exchanges. Like we went with the Royal 22e Régiment, we went to Paris and there was the Festival de Musique Militaire de Paris. So we were in Paris and we did this little super Québécois show during a whole festival. And we got friends with the member over there that was taking care of us, like the OPI for the Van Doos band over there. And we still we still chat regularly on Facebook, and then he wants to come to Quebec because he loves the culture and stuff like that. And so it's much more than just exchanging notes. We kind of built we had activities over there, and there's even a group from our contingent that participated during that short trip that we had over there. They had a run in Paris, and it was the France Army that was organizing that run. So we organized, like, one of our group participated in that run, and we had like our t-shirts to represent us. So there was like this little Canadian team that was running for them, and they made us a part of their opening ceremony. And then we were like in a court, or like in an area where they all started singing their anthem, but like it was like a lot of men singing their anthem. Like we were so surprised. We were in the front with the VIPs, and we were just standing at attention in our PT gear, and we're just like, is this really happening? They're singing their like the France anthem, and we're just being part of that. And it's the kind of surprises that happen all the time on those kind of deployments. Like, this happened. Oh well, like we just have to go with the flow and be open to many different opportunities within these great events. So it is. Yeah, it's amazing sometimes what can happen during those trips.
Thank you, Marie-Pierre. So I guess we still have maybe 3 minutes. So Allison, would you like to tell us about RIMPAC? Have you been?
Yeah, I was just going to say Hawaii. There's a tasking I'd like to do again. It was actually pretty incredible too. So the brass quintet got sent to RIMPAC. I don't know what RIMPAC stands for, but something to do with ships for sure. But it happens in July. I think it's every 2 years. And one of our ships was there, so they wanted a Canadian band on the ship to play for the dinner. So my brass quintet got to go. And then, really funny, like, my partner, he plays euphonium. And at the time, it was just random that all 4 trombone positions were unoccupied. So we had no trombone to send with the quintet. So my partner got to go and play euphonium. So here we are, both of us in Hawaii. Like, that was pretty incredible. We got to do a joint concert with I forget which military band is there, but yes, the U.S. Navy band that's posted there. We did a joint concert, and it was like right on the beach. Yeah, right on the beach. Like, is this real life? I don't know.
So RIMPAC is the Rim of the Pacific exercise, and it's the biggest naval joint exercise in the Pacific. It includes many different countries.
Great. I'm learning our acronyms from this broadcast. Yeah, but so we got to go to Hawaii for like 5 days.
Great.
Which is pretty cool, right? Like, we spent a lot of that time working, and it would have been nice to have a bit more free time, but we spend a lot of time working when we're at home, so it was pretty cool to be in Hawaii instead.
Cool. Thank you for opening your hearts to us, all of you, and showing your joy of life and your joy of enjoyment of your career. Now I need to plug you for the next bits that are coming. We had the last recording that we heard on the 3rd session, and we're going to hear another recording soon. And they come from a concert from the Naden Band for it was to commemorate, or it was for Remembrance Day. And it's called Reflections of Hope. And you can find the link. It's posted in the comments. So the other thing I need to say is that it's time now for listening to the closing comments by Captain Megan Hodge. And then we'll hear our nice recording. Oh, and I will talk to you about the recording. That next recording is going to be a piece written by W. Francis Macbeth. It's called the Sea Treaders, and it's by the Needham Band, conducted by its CEO, present CEO, who is Lieutenant Navy Catherine Norris. Thank you, Captain Hodge.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of you for being here today. Thank you to the audience for tuning into this edition of That's What She Said online with the music branch of the Canadian Armed Forces. The performances, presentations, and discussions were beautifully done and so inspiring. Thank you to all of you. I was incredibly moved by all of your guys' stories, all the detail you guys put into it, and I think we're coming away with a much better idea of what the military has to offer and what the military musicians are doing. So on behalf of the Canadian Women's Brass Collective, I would like to thank all of the panelists and performers from across the country that made this happen. Also, to the music branch and specifically the Needham Band in Victoria and PO2 Bob Fernley under the command of Lieutenant Navy Catherine Norris, who worked tirelessly to make this all come together. And now we'll hear the last presentation from the military, which is the Sea Treaders by Francis Macbeth. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.